In this video, we're going to look at Creative Commons and the various types of licenses that creators of music, photos, videos, and other creative works grant to those works so that other people can use them free of charge. But first, let's take a look at what is Creative Commons. Creative Commons is a nonprofit organization that provides licenses so that creators of works such as photos, music, videos, and other creative output can share their work for free under certain conditions. And these conditions are called Creative Commons licenses, and they apply to these works and are granted by the artist who created them. So if I took a photograph, for example, and I wanted to share it with, if I took the photograph, I would own the copyright. And if I wanted to share it with other people at no charge, I could grant a Creative Commons license to that photo so that other people anywhere in the world could share it. But I'd have to determine what type of license I would assign to that photo, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. For the purposes of this course, we're going to look at Creative Commons licenses for music that you can use in a digital story. This first Creative Commons license is BY, and you'll see that the designation is CC BY. All Creative Commons licenses begin with the letters CC and then are followed by some other letters. And many of the letters in Creative Commons licenses stand for other words, but BY doesn't. It just simply refers to attribution, meaning that you have to credit the artist or give attribution to that person as part of your work. So you can think of this as if a musician records a piece of music you want to use, that it was recorded by that person. And we'll look at ways that you can give this attribution or credit at the end of your digital story a little later. In this Creative Commons license, you'll notice that there are two sets of letters after the CC. And many of the Creative Commons licenses can be grouped together. So this one, CC BY-NC, stands for Creative Commons Attribution, and the NC stands for non-commercial. So this license allows you to use a piece of music, let's say, in a digital story as long as it's non-commercial, which means you're not going to sell it. So you're going to give it away for free. Again, because it's got the BY in it, you have to credit the artist. But you can include this in your digital story in any way you want, except for a case where there will be monetary compensation. CC BY-SA is another Creative Commons license. This one, again, because it includes the BY designation, means that you have to credit the artist. So if you use a piece of music with this type of Creative Commons license, you have to put an attribution information text at the end of your story, but the SA stands for share alike. And what this means is that that the entire project that you create, your digital story using this piece of music, will retain the share alike Creative Commons license so that other people will be able to use your digital story in the same way that you were able to use that piece of music. CC BY-ND is another Creative Commons license and one that I would recommend that you not use. The ND stands for no derivatives, and this means that you cannot create a project using this music where you change the music in any way, and that would be a derivative version from the original. And this particular type of Creative Commons license has some ambiguity to it, but some people have interpreted it to mean that because you can't change the music, you can't fade it in or fade it out, or you couldn't use part of it and not the entire song. So I recommend that you not, when you see a Creative Commons license that says BY, where you have to credit the artist, and the designation ND for no derivatives, that you not use this, because in most cases you may want to slightly change the music, and it's just safer not to utilize any music that has this particular Creative Commons license. CC BY-NC-SA is a more complicated Creative Commons license, but actually one that's pretty good for digital storytellers. So this license, the BY indicates that you must credit the artist. The NC is non-commercial use, and the SA is share alike. So what this means is you can put this song with this type of license into a digital story, but you cannot use it for commercial purposes or monetary compensation. And because it's got the share alike designation, you have to add the exact same license, CC BY-NC-SA, at the end of your digital story, so that others are allowed to use it for non-commercial purposes in a share alike fashion. CC BY-NC-ND is another complex layered type of Creative Commons, but again, because it includes the ND, I would recommend that you not use any works that have this particular designation. So BY again means attribution, you must credit the artist. NC means it's non-commercial, so you cannot charge anything or get any monetary gain for your work. But no derivatives, the ND at the end, as was seen earlier, means that you can't change the music in any way. So you can't fade it in or fade it out, or use part of it, or use all of it and then use a little bit more if the song is longer than, or not as long as your digital story, and you want to use all of it for the first, let's say it's 3 minutes long, you want to use the first 3 minutes, and then you want to have it fade in again and use just the next 1 minute because you've got a 4-minute digital story. You can't do that because ND means you cannot change the original piece of music. So anytime you see the ND designation, my suggestion is that you don't use that music and you look for one of the other Creative Commons licenses that are more flexible for digital storytelling. CC0, also sometimes referred to as CC0, refers to a Creative Commons license where no rights are reserved. And what this means is that the work in question belongs in what's known as the public domain. And the public domain simply means that work is available to the public and is not subject to copyright. This generally refers to works that were created by someone at a point 70 years after their death when the copyright has expired. For some works it's 70 years, for others, depending on whether it was part of a business or work for hire, it could be 95 years or 120 years from the date of creation. But generally, if you see a designation that has an O with a line through it or a 0 with a line through it, or the term public domain, that means that for whatever reason you're allowed to use it. There is no copyright restriction. So you're not likely to run into too many of these, but in case you do, then it's perfectly okay to use any music that has this Creative Commons designation.